What is going on, everyone? We caking here for another Netcast. A little bit different Netcast for the, I don't know, is this the second episode, third episode? I think we're on the second episode right now. Trying out a little thing, something different for today. Now, normally I am going to start doing, this is going to be my backdrop. Black Friday, after Black Friday, this is all going to be ready. This is all going to be ready. We're going to have a bunch of beautiful lights. We're going to have a lot more team-oriented flair on there. I'm really excited for me to be able to start to highlight, start to showcase some other teams and start to really show my love of the sport, show my enjoyment of the sport, not just team specifically, but being able to appreciate and show each fan base that there is something for you to be appreciative for. There is something for you to look forward to. And overall, just to enjoy I almost said state of hockey, the game of hockey. Just enjoy the game of hockey. It's a fantastic game. There's a lot of camaraderie, and I think a lot of things good come out of the sport of hockey. Now, for this netcast, I'm going to talk about 5 things that happened this last week in the NHL. Some of the topics I want to go over. We're going to keep talking about that star power of Matthew Schaefer. We're going to talk about the Global Series. We're going to talk about the Knuckleheads against the Lightning. We're going to talk about the injuries. And then we're going to talk about trades yet again. The thing about sports is that there's certain elements, certain conversations that just never go away. They're always a part of the conversation. So first, let's start out with the NHL Global Series in Sweden. That was this past weekend. Pittsburgh Penguins, Nashville Predators. Stanley Cup 2017 rematch. Now, of course, there's like maybe 4 Predators that are on that team since the Cup run. Same for the Penguins, maybe 4 Penguins that are there since the Cup run. So it's not exactly, you're not necessarily having a bunch of hostile forces that have this memory, this ongoing memory, like, hey, remember when you beat us? Not necessarily the case right now. That doesn't really go on. So with what's going on with that stadium series, I don't know. When they're doing a lot of these Winter Classics, outdoor games, sometimes like, all right, we're going to do original 6 versus original 6. Sometimes we'll go like, Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia Flyers. It feels like, for the most part in the NHL, it feels like there's only a few rivalries that are just, we want to rip your throats out. I mean, they just don't get along. And the other thing is that the league puts them against each other a little bit too. They kind of, I would say, feel the stories that continue to happen about that elongated hatred between 2 rival teams. And it's interesting that there are 2 teams within the same state, which creates that additional rivalry rather than across the states or whatnot. Anyways, it's really interesting to see the way that they pick these teams. I don't know if they do polls. I don't know how they do it. I don't know why they picked these 2 teams to go over. Because when you're looking at highlighting, when you're looking at bringing teams overseas, first of all, that's expensive. And you're trying to grow the game. You're trying to get other nations, other continents more immersed in the hockey, even though some of these other continents have winter for 8 of their 12 months. So they're definitely very, very used to hockey, very, very used to winter. But they're trying to bring NHL level talent around the globe. And I think that's a fantastic idea, especially for growing the game. I don't know. See, the thing for me when I think about stadium series, when I think about more global things, is that it's really just adults that can pay for the tickets, right? You have to be 18 for the most part, I believe, to go to a game by yourself. I'm not sure if they check IDs, but for the most part, that's what you have to be probably 18 to buy a ticket or something. I don't know. But for the most part, getting these tickets, it's not necessarily going to be in the hands of the young. The young aren't necessarily going to be able to afford these tickets. So it's, for the most part, it's going to be your 40-year-old guys, your 30-year-old guys, maybe a couple college kids, maybe a couple of families here and there, but I don't know if there's a whole ton of young fans that actually get to go to these events. So when I think about stadium series, when I think about the NHL trying to expand and grow the game, it gets me thinking about the NHL, let's say, having the stadium series, but 2 hours before the stadium series. Now, obviously, the time zone difference is can be unique, but I think they should have an off-camera event to where they have all these different stations set up to get kids to play hockey, get kids to get some equipment, get kids that maybe don't know a thing about hockey. Like, hey, if you know things about hockey, get in this line. If you've never played the sport, get in this line. And the people that never played the sport maybe get to walk out with, maybe get a floor hockey stick or something mailed to them or delivered to them or something like that. I think that would be a way, way, way better way to get some young fans engaged. And even if they had one of those big Jumbotron projectors or something outside, obviously this last game was at 8 in the morning, at least in the States time, at least in my central time. It was 8 in the morning on Sunday. So I had to get up really, really early. Everyone else that wanted to watch the game and not only cast the game had to get up really, really early. Still a phenomenal event. But I feel that there's a lot of other ways for the NHL to expand. Heck, I mean, I think that a lot of NHL games should have college or student sections for kids that are actually interested in the sport, actually interested in learning about the sport, studying the sport. I think that there could be a lot more hockey historians. There could be a lot better referees. I think sports is a legitimate job, and I think it should be treated as such, as a legitimate job. And I think sports is a job. Sports is a means for us to compete against one another. I think it's very, very healthy for us to have sports like that. I think back to the Greeks and how they had the Olympics and how they had all these other competitions. And sometimes having all these other competitions and these other things to work for are really, really great at not letting your mind get too distracted with other things that go on in life. And on the other hand, I feel like it's a very noble thing to want to praise athleticism and for there to be a high value on athleticism, personal health, and overall personal well-being. So for the Stadium Series, I'll highlight a couple of extra things. Sergei Murashov, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now I'm talking about Game 2. The first game was a 1-1 tie that went to overtime, where I believe it was Steven Stamkos ripped that puck on a little bit of a breakaway with whatever gas he has left in the tank, rips that puck, scores, sends the Penguins home that night. They get a night's rest. The following day, I think they played. Was it back to back? I don't remember. I don't remember if it was Friday, Sunday, or if it was Saturday, Sunday. Nonetheless, they play 2 games. Nashville comes away with 1 win, and then the Penguins come away with 1 win. However, 1 game went to overtime, so the Penguins came away with 3 points. And then the Predators only came away with 2 points because they got 1 win and a loss, where the Penguins got an overtime loss and won. Well, actually, yeah, that's how it's working because they didn't get any points for the other game. So I thought that was great. Murashev for the Penguins, that was their rookie goaltender, got a 4-0 shutout. In the 4-0 shutout, not only Crosby and Malkin both scored. So when you have both of their best players that they've had for the last 20 years scoring a goal, chances of them, actually that'd be a really interesting stat to see. What are the chances the Pittsburgh Penguins win if both Crosby and Malkin score? That would be a really unique stat to see in regards to how that looks. Now, you look at the way the Predators play, unfortunately, they're just a team where their talent just isn't doing it for them anymore. Their talent isn't doing it for them anymore. They went with a lot of veterans, and they were hoping that some of these veterans were going to be able to shock in some of their younger talent. Unfortunately, that has not been the case. The younger talent has not really seemed to step up. They have not seemed to synergize with some of the other players as well. And on top of that, sometimes your older talent, you look at a player like Crosby, obviously he's an S-tier player, kind of shouldn't even talk about Crosby. A player like Andrei Kopitar, a player like Brad Marchand, some of those players that have been in the league for almost 20 years, if not close to 20 years, they're still putting up almost a point per game player. These players are still participating. They're still getting on rushes. They're still doing everything they can to help their team achieve success. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But when you look at the Predators, man, it is just not there. It is just not there. I mean, you even had Ryan O'Reilly about a week ago before the Stadium Series breaking down to the media telling them, I've only had one good season in my career. I can't make a 6-foot pass. I can't do anything. I can't do anything. I can't do anything. It's hard to watch a lot of these superstars, or at least prior superstars, having to come to terms with, honestly, I think it's just the team. I think there are some teams that just have bad auras. I think there are some teams that just have bad auras, and it's really hard for them to get past certain perspectives. I mean, Stamkos. Now, I don't know the entire roster of the Flyers, but dude, Stamkos and the Flyers, I don't know. I like to brainstorm some of these teams sometimes when you think about if some of the players are struggling or failing on a team, how would they look on another team? But unfortunately, there's not only been slips with the Predators. Let's get into our second topic here. Gonna keep moving along in our new video style for today. Injuries. Dude, injuries have been nuts. Listen to this. So I made a little list. You got Jack Hughes with the Devils with his weird finger thing that happened at the diner. You have Nick Foligno with the Blackhawks. He's the captain. Sounds he's got a broken left hand from blocking a shot. Ouch. Victor Arvidsson, lower body. Thomas Harley of the Stars, who I'm pretty sure just signed like an 8-year contract extension or something. He's lower body week to week. Drew Doughty of the Kings. Oh, excuse me. These one shots, man. I got it. I'm getting used to it. So bear with me through a couple of my yawns. So Drew Doughty, of course, he's kind of like Anze Kopitar, been a part of the Kings for almost 2 decades. This poor guy gets hurt every year. I swear this guy misses a month every single year. And then you got a couple of prospects. Sounds like a Flames prospect is also injured right now. Now this Jack Hughes thing is just, wow. You go out to eat, you go out to get some supper with the team, and before you know it, Jack Hughes he cuts his finger. Cuts his finger to the point to where he needs surgery and 2 months worth of recovery. This guy just struggles to play a full season, and it's always just weird freak accidents. It's always weird freak things that just happen to this Hughes guy. One of these seasons, he's just going to be there for the entire season and really help the Devils get a lot more respect. The Devils are a young team with a lot of speed, a lot of power, a lot of potential. But it always feels like something weird, like this, some weird injury, something that you just, I mean, they say expect the unexpected, but you can't expect anything close to something like this happening. This is weird. That is weird. And what do you expect him to do from now on? Does his teammates have to feed him? Here comes the airplane. You know what I mean? It's just kind of silly. And then you look at Foligno. Sounds like he blocked a shot, and now he's out for 4 weeks. So that's awful. I mean, honestly, Blackhawks don't need him. Bedard's doing everything he needs to do. Bedard is really starting to show up. You legitimately wonder with a player like Marchessault or something else like that. You look at some of these teams that have been struggling, and you're like, gosh, what if some of these players relocated, went to a different team, and I don't want to say found instant success, but you just start finding success. I think that'd be really, really cool if some of these players that are struggling really, really bad right now end up switching to some of these other teams and just start swagging. Just start swagging. That'd be really, really exciting. So there are some injuries going along in the league right now. Some teams, I feel like, the Devils, I don't think that the Devils have any sort of fear that they're not going to make the playoffs. Losing Hughes is definitely pretty big. But the way that I like to look at it, and the way that I like to look at a lot of teams, is that it is a team sport. I mean, he is a first overall pick, but you also have Nico Hischier. And it seems like Nico Hischier is one of those first overall picks that just no one ever talks about. Nico Hischier. So we'll see what he can do. We'll see if Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, and some of the other guys there on the Devils are going to be able to stay together and figure out Figure out what they can do with their potential. Figure out if they are going to indeed be able to make a run. Hold it together. See if they can still compete. I'm pretty excited to see if the Devils can hold it together. Now, the Kings are a weird team. The Kings have a lot of age on their team, and then they're like, you know what? We already have a player that's planning on retiring at the end of the season because of his age. Hey, Corey Perry, you want a spot? I think that's weird. I mean, especially, dude, if you've lost the Stanley Cup 5 out of 6 years in a row, probably wouldn't want on my team. When you're a serial Stanley Cup loser, no, I wouldn't want you on my team, man. That's not good. That is not good, not good. But now, I mean, when we're talking about tough breaks with some of these teams, I think it's also important that we talk about the breakout kids. I mean, we're going to be talking Matthew Schaefer, this guy. Listen to this. 7 goals in 19 games. Not only does he have 7 goals in 19 games, but Schaefer also is now the youngest player to ever score an overtime goal. The youngest player to ever score an overtime goal. Sorry, Crosby. Your crown has been passed to Schaefer, a defenseman. Schaefer. Now, I'm going to go on a little side tangent about Schaefer. And it doesn't have anything to do with Schaefer. It's more about the league. Schaefer has personality. Ovechkin has personality. Crosby has no personality. McDavid has no personality. The teams that have the players with personalities are a lot more entertaining than teams that have players that don't have personalities. If you're a player without a personality, your interviews are boring. You don't feel like you want to be there. And that's the hardest thing too about the media training that a lot of these players get, where they're like, don't swear, don't be careful of everything that you say. I think that players get scared to the point to where they don't even want to say stuff. I think it's really important that you get these players hyped up, honestly, I wish every single NHL interview was like a WWE interview. Because you want to gas your team up. I mean, even if you're on a 4 losing streak, to be like, hey, we haven't found our game these last few games, but you know what? So let me do an example. Let me do an example right now, live on camera. So we'll do a global series. So imagine I'm Steven Stamkos, and I'm doing the press conference before the global series. And they're asking me questions. And they're like, hey, Stammer, your team has been up and down, but for the most part, quite down. And it seems they're starting to sink like a rock. Do you think that this team is shipwrecked, or do you think your team's going to be able to pull it back together and make a run? If I'm Stamkos, I'm going to go like, so the way I'm going to answer that is I've got 2 back-to-back cups under my belt. Ryan O'Reilly, he was a part of one of the worst teams in NHL history, to the point in St. Louis Blues, to where they were in last place in the league and fought to the point to where they were in playoff contention and ended up lifting that Stanley Cup. Jonathan Marchessault was a misfit on the Vegas Golden Knights. Lost 1 Stanley Cup, but made it back again 6 years later to claim his crown. We have Stanley Cup champions on this team. There's some players here that made it to a Stanley Cup before too. Hey, I've lost a Stanley Cup. Marchessault's lost a Stanley Cup. Yossi's lost a Stanley Cup. Saros is like some of these other Predators, they've lost Stanley Cup. They've lost a Stanley Cup. Like I said, there's a few Predators that are still around from that last Cup loss. We know how to fight. We know how to battle. Yes, we know that our team has not been as optimal. Our team hasn't necessarily been what we may have wanted it to be. But that does not mean that we cannot become that team. That does not mean that we can't turn things around. This stadium series, Our team, we've been having a lot of conversations. We think we found a strategy. We think we're finding a way that our team's going to be able to come together, put some goals in the back of the net, and come back home with 4 points, 2 wins. That's our goal, and that's what we think we're going to do. The Penguins, yeah, they got some older players on their team too. They're very similar to us. They got older players, they got younger players. We're very similar. Now, we got just as much cups on our team as they do on their team. We can compete with them. All right, Penguins, when we're on that ice, you better watch out. If I have the puck on my tape, I'm shooting. I'm shooting that puck. And Malkin, if you think you're going to hip check me, I will put you through the boards. Letang, if you think that you're going to quarterback that power play, I'm going to poke check that puck right out of your stick. I'm going to break away, and when I slam that puck past your goalie's glove, I'm going to celly right in front of your face. I'm going to grab my stick. I'm going to do a rock star slam. And I'm just going to show you that we're better than you, and we know it. So when it comes to that, I want to see more teams get a lot more boastful when it comes to the sport. I think that's going to create more storylines. And getting back to Schaefer, he has that. Matthew Schaefer's a guy that you can just see the youth in his eye. You can see the excitement. You could see how he's like, everything's an eye-opening, a big smile experience. Yeah, you lose, you get checked, you learn stuff. But the triumphs, you start to learn how exciting it is. You start to learn how cool your new job is. And your new job that's going to be paying you millions upon millions of dollars. So Matthew Schaefer, it's just crazy. At 18 years old, he's changing this league. He's changing the way that this league is looking at communication, and I'm all for it. I'm really, really excited to see that. I mean, not to mention too that this goal is against the Utah Mammoth. The Utah Mammoth, of course, won 7 straight so far this season, once they brought out their mascot, Tusky in the Tusky era, as they like to say. I think that's, dude, have you seen the Utah fans going like, oh no? The Utah fans going like this, like they got tusks, so they go, eh. I saw it on the video the other night, and it made me chuckle pretty big. But yes, so the Utah Mammoth, they ended up losing, so Vamelka, the milkman, could not save that overtime goal. That ripper from Barzell to Schaefer, which just beats his glove and just goes, it's just a heater that went past him. Now, with some rookies rising and some vets returning, Quinn Hughes, I mean, when we're talking about teams that have won the Stanley Cup, like the Lightning, the Canucks shredded them the other night. So now we're going to talk about the Canucks versus the Lightning. Now this is the Lightning is a really, really weird team. So this game, the Canucks won 6-2. The Lightning scored 2 goals, I believe, in the first, and then the Canucks came back and just slammed them. I think they scored 6 goals in the third period. The Canucks did. That's awful. I mean, if you're the Canucks, that's going to feel great, especially if you're Hughes when you get 4 assists. You're showing everyone like you got this S tier talent, and that you just need somebody on the team to pass the puck to. You just need somebody on the team that you can collaborate with. You need somebody on your team that you can collaborate with, and it just does not feel like you have that talent on your team that you're able to collaborate with them. It just does not feel like that literally at all. I mean, you got some good play. I like Kiefer Sherwood personally. I'm not a Pettersson fan. I mean, Marcus Pettersson, that was on the Penguins for like 10 years, he was okay. But for the most part, everyone else, I just don't care for the Canucks. I think it's the dumbest name ever. I know it's got a Canadian history, but it is a dumb name. There's like 3 teams in the NHL that I'm just like, your name is stupid. I don't care about anything you can do. Anything you do is dumb because your name is stupid, and hockey tradition gets ripped to be really, really stupid. Really, really stupid. Move on. There's new ideas, there's new strategies, there's new things to explore with hockey. So tradition is a thing, but gosh, you guys gotta consider that there's other potential in the league. But when I'm thinking about this game right now, I mean, you're down 2, and then you just rip 6 in the third. I mean, out of nowhere, you're like, they're like, you know what, guys, I don't want to lose this game. So they just get back in there and they just start slamming goals in the back of the throat. Now listen to this. Lightning's Johansson faced 12 shots in the third. He made 28 saves total. But I mean, scoring two. I mean, hockey's one of the weirdest momentum-based sports where you can start out doing pretty decent. I mean, the Penguins, dude, talk to me. I could talk with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're in love with blowing 3-goal leads. They're like, we got 3 goals on them. Nah, we don't want this. Nah. Why would I want a 3-goal lead? Would you want a 3-goal lead? I don't. It's weird. It's weird. So for that game, it's just if you keep fighting, there could be potential. Honestly, with a lot of these games, and I know with hockey, it just takes one. It just takes one goal. And the other thing, even though it just takes one goal, the team getting the puck down the ice, getting the puck to the other side of the rink, it takes a lot of teamwork to do that. It's not just one player. And once you get it down to that side, you have to rely on your teammates to be intelligent with their puck movement to make sure that they can manage that puck and put yourself into a scoring opportunity. Some players try to be too special. They try to believe that they're 1,000 IQ hockey plays and they do no look passes or things like that, and they send it right to the tape of somebody else, and then they're on a breakaway and they get scored on, and then they break their stick over the net because they did it to themselves. They did it to their own team. Whatever, man. Now, resilience like that, that's how you show up to the league and say, like, we're a possible contender. But let's talk about some vets in the bubble. For the most part, the Flames. The Flames, it's bad. It's bad. They're going nowhere. I mean, literally, for the Flames, they got 2 more weeks. And unfortunately for them, I mean, it's one of those teams, too. Like, Flames is a dumb name for a Canadian team because they relocated. They didn't change the name. It's just like when the North Stars go to Texas and they just become the Stars. Could have been the Lone Stars because that works, but no, just Stars. Just Stars. Hey, guys, we're just the Stars. Yeah, we were Minnesota, but it means nothing to us. It means nothing to us, but we're still the Stars, everyone. Still the Stars. Lazy. I mean, the Coyotes aren't still the Coyotes in Utah. They're the Mammoth now. Should have been the Yeti, but moving on. A lot of trade talk right now is on Nazem Kadri. So Nazem Kadri, 29 years old, $7 million cap hit through 2028 with the no trade, getting a lot of interest. Now the Flames are 7-9-3. And right now, with the Flames, his name pops up a lot in these trade rumors. I'm just reading through my notes right now. It's November right now. We're not necessarily in March. We're not necessarily towards that trade deadline. However, even though we're not at that trade deadline yet, I think it's really, really, really important to consider the fact that for this trade deadline, like last year's trade deadline was really interesting. So what I'll say about the trade deadline is that last year, a lot of teams were pulling the trigger 2 weeks, a month before. That's really smart, especially if you want that player to integrate into your team, integrate into your culture, start to learn how the team competes, how the team interacts. Very, very important. Very, very important. And so that movement, when it comes to helping a player acclimate to your organization, is critical. I think when you get a player at the very end, the very last minute, you're like, all right, now we got 3 weeks to figure it out. Sometimes it doesn't do it. And honestly, I think that that's a lot of the times why these trade deadline acquisitions just fail, is that they just don't get the time that they need to practice. So Kadri, I mean, it sounds like he's got 22 points in 19 games played. He's a +3. He's 55% on faceoffs. And he's an offensive player with some good, decent defense that he can come back and play as well. Here's the thing about Kadri. He says he's here to win, not to tank. He's got some hype in his heart. He wants to compete. The other thing, though, I watched him on the Maple Leafs. I watched him on the Avalanche. And this guy just seems like he is a waiting accident to happen. This guy's got elbows that come everywhere, man. Elbows coming everywhere, man. Oops. Got a little too into that one. Cross checks be happening all over the place, man. But you know what I mean. It's just one of those players to where it just feels like I'm not used to having a cord on my microphone, so that's one of the reasons. And I'm not used to doing this on my phone. I'm using my webcams, but they're repositioned for now, so I apologize. But Kadri, dude, he doesn't seem like a player that fits in well. I hate this conversation. He's not a player that fits in well. He's not a player that I would ever pick for my team. Literally, I look at this guy like a Vander Kane. I look at this guy that gives cheap shots, that is kind of just a player that wants to get on. Like, I don't know. I put Nazem Kadri with the Kachuk brothers and whoever I was just talking about that I didn't like. Some of these players that just grind on your skin to try to get to Vander Kane, Nazem Kadri, they just seem like the same type of player where they just want to bother you, and then they're just going to bother you to the point to where you're going to snap or do something to the point you slash them, and then your team gets penalized, and now they're on the power play, and now they're more deadly. I don't like that type of. I mean, kind of almost like a Marchand too when you think about it. I don't like that type of play. I don't like that type of player at all. I feel like that detracts from the game. Now, to me, there are certain elements that I think that are really funny when it comes to the mind games of players. But Kadri, I don't like it. I don't like him one bit. I don't think he's a good teammate. I don't think he's good for team culture. I think that Kadri is one of those players that it just takes him to get too excited in a match, to deliver a cheap shot, to deliver a cross check, to board a player, and let the other team get a power play, and the other team has a high opportunity to score. I don't like that. I think that's bad. I would stay away from that. If you go for Nazem Kadri, I think you are gambling. I think you are gambling that this talent can overweigh the personality. I mean, when you look at players like the Kachucks, yeah, they get on your skin, but dang, they're good players. And they get their fair share of penalties, but they're really talented. Same for Marchand. But when you kind of just look at the ethics of it a lot of people are like, dude, ethically, I think that's awful. Ethically, please don't. So Kadri, I don't think I would not pursue him if I was any GM in the NHL. That'd be one of the last players I would ever pursue, just because of the things that you've seen in other teams, and just from, I mean, I hate to say it, what I'll end on for Kadri is Kadri. So what I like to think of Nazem Kadri and other players that play maybe I'll say a dirtier style of hockey, is that if your dirty style of hockey ends up happening at the wrong moment, I like to think of Cody Eakin on the Vegas Golden Knights. Cody Eakin's career literally got burned. He cross-checked some guy off the face-off. The guy lost his balance, hit his head on the ice, and started to bleed. So he got a 5-minute major. And that was the game that the Sharks scored 4 goals on a 5-minute power play to tie the game. Golden Knights did come back to win the game, but it was just one of those things that you watched it, you're just like, this is a train wreck. This is embarrassing. This is awful. So that's the way that I look at it. Now, Cody Eakin was not seen as the dirty player at all, but that play that he did, which honestly, when I looked at it, didn't really look that bad. It just looked like a guy lost his balance on ice, which ice is slippery. So he lost his balance, fell, hit his head, and then they got the major. So it's a play like that can literally burn a player's career, burn a player's image. Now, Cody Eakin, he's out of the league. He was really in the league for maybe 2, maybe 3 years after that. Before, I mean, and he couldn't live with it. So he couldn't live with it. Teams really didn't want a player that, like, yeah, remember when you cross-checked that guy and then your entire team quit? So that happened, and we don't really want that on our team. We don't want that energy on our team. So thanks for playing on the NHL, but we're done with you. So Kadri, I'd stay away from him. I know there's a lot of teams that are considering the talent, but I think it's a tempting offer, but I would not recommend doing it. All right, everyone, this has been my first live Netcast. I've been stumbling, I've been muttering, I've been saying all sorts of things, but nonetheless, I've been really, really happy that I could talk hockey with everyone today. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more live video Netcasts. So stay posted, come back, hit that button on the like if you had a good time. But honestly, I want to see some comments. Comment below, comment in the video. I want to talk to each and every one of you. Tell me what your favorite team is. Tell me what you thought of the Stadium Series. I want to know if there's a certain place where everybody would like to see the Stadium Series adventure to. Other than that, this has been WeCake'N. Thank you everyone for watching this video, watching my Netcast, and I will see every single one of you at the next one. Take it easy. Thanks for watching me. See ya.